Good evening. Um, I'm not broadcasting this in the usual manner that I do. This is live stream that I will then register as part of my channel rather than something that I first put through software programs and then upload. And I'm doing that because I'm on a laptop. I am not at home. This is actually, those who know me the best know my um, adopted son just finished college, and now his spouse is finishing a master's degree on Sunday. So here I am. I'm at their place. I'm at his desk in the spare room, um, which is a small room that's good for recording, in my opinion. But I wanted to do this now. Um, so it would be on my stream because once I go home on Sunday after Anda's graduation, I have all sorts of things that have to be done for the holiday. So, what we are talking about here is, quite frankly, um, well, we're going to talk about the weather. It's not the commonest thing you hear, and certainly not from me. We have had a number of very strange things occur here and across the globe in the last few weeks. Now, there have been strange things happening in the weather for years now. Consider the wildfires in California that take up huge parts of forests. Consider the droughts and so forth. But we're going to discuss wind. Um, Tornadoes struck a number of states in the lower Midwest um, a week or so ago. Ending in Kentucky, it appears to have been either the equivalent of a Cat 4 or 5, except in tornadoes, storm that appears to probably, they're not sure yet, have had the longest run where it was actually touching the earth of any tornado historically. 200, more than 200 miles, we know. 250 miles is what they think. It ended up killing over 100 people. It hit a village. It took out it was a horrible thing. And what got lost for many people in that was that at the same time, out Colorado and I think Arizona, there were prolonged straight line winds that went more than 100 miles an hour at times, or at least 100 miles an hour at times, across those states. They did some destruction. It wasn't as severe as the tornadoes. In the last few days, leaving our dome, if you would, because I sometimes think that's how a lot of us think of America, leaving our dome, um, a typhoon in the Pacific changed. Number one, it's December. And even in the South Pacific, uh, typhoons in December are pretty rare. But it went from being a typhoon to being a super typhoon to being a Cat 5 typhoon, where they were seeing spotty winds at 200 miles an hour, according to the Japanese Weather Authority, in a day. And it hit the Philippines. Remember the Philippines, our old ally, at one point a territory of ours, where frankly the people are wonderful, and I have people that I love very much there. It hit, one in particular, it hit the Philippines, made landfall 7 times across the island chain, now is on its way to Vietnam. Cut a huge swath of destruction. Casualties appear to be very low because the government responded very quickly in preparing and in evacuating people. Bless the government there. There were a few casualties and there was a lot of destruction. A lot of things were destroyed. And there are people, I haven't heard from my friend yet, from reading government bulletins. I know they're alive, but I don't know much beyond that. I believe from the last time we chatted before all the towers went down, by that point, the typhoon was, the eye had passed beyond his city and was continuing on. And the house was still standing, which was not true for a lot of the neighbors. They were sheltering some of the neighbors. And I'm worried about him. And that may be what finally triggered me to do this video. Why are these things happening? Now, scientists have been telling us these things would happen for decades and decades and begging us to take the type of actions that it would take to stop them from happening. These are a direct result of climate change. And I've given a lot of play to, I think we can all accept that climate change exists, and I'm not going to argue with you about why. As people I know in our own lower Midwest, in Colorado, in the Philippines, who range from old friends to dearly loved ones, are put more and more in peril, I am going to explain why it's happening. This climate change we created. Exactly the same as before we reached the World Accord on ozone. We were destroying the ozone layer. And the planet would have become uninhabitable. And that moved people because ozone didn't have a big lobby group. So it moved people. It moved them. And so the world stopped the production of chlorofluorocarbons in the amounts that they were producing them, and the ozone hole healed, and the planet was saved. When we come to fossil fuels, it has a lot of lobbyists. It has a lot of defenders. It has a lot of people that go, oh, it can't be replaced. It can. I just today answered someone online who was attacking Kamala Harris's statement about our needing to go electric. Oh, well, what about the batteries? What about this? What about that? And in the process of the statement, showed how incredibly ignorant of facts this woman was. She talked about, what are you going to do with the wind turbines when they run down? Every piece of a wind turbine is recyclable. Nor are we dependent on wind turbines, nor are we dependent on wind turbines and solar, nor are we wave power. The particles that are coming out now, or the substances that are coming out now, that are piezoelectronic, that generate electricity from every bit of motion, whether it's rain hitting it, movement, wind, anything. We can make this switch, both in America and globally. New batteries. Oh, well, the lithium batteries. Except we don't need them, or we won't within 2 or 3 years. With appropriate backing, all lithium-based batteries could be replaced with aluminum oxygen or other batteries in months, including in your phones and your cars. It doesn't matter. And aluminum oxygen is only one of a dozen new forms of batteries that have proof of concept, that have been produced in small numbers. Several of them are much more energy dense than lithium-ion batteries. A number of them, at least a couple, have, as far as we can tell at this point, an unlimited number of charges capable of being put in them. We've looked at them. We've tested them. They allow hundreds of thousands of charges at the least. So why are we not moving towards these things? What is the crap about, oh, well, we're not causing global warming? I'll tell you what it is. And I may have said this before, but I did not say it in a video, I do not believe. I had a friend that I cared very deeply about many years ago when, I didn't have lines on my face and I was quite a bit younger. He was another Dungeons and Dragons player. He was a tournament DM as I was. We used to talk. He rests in light now. He was a scientist, an atmospheric scientist with a PhD from, I believe, an Ivy school. And he was working for Mobile Exxon. And he said directly to my face, before God, he said, I know I'm lying. I lie for them all the time. And I said, why would you do this? And he said, I don't think the destruction is coming as fast as some people do. Yes, it's coming, but environmental groups pay so much less, and I want to take good care of my wife and baby. I'm not going to ever name him. He is deceased. He was my friend. But the handful of climate deniers, either ideologically insane, which a few of them are, or in most cases are exactly like he was. They don't think it will affect them. They think their children will outlast it, or they assume that we will move forward anyway so they can serve the billionaires. Oil is over $2 trillion per year by the minimum estimate. Hundreds of billions in profit. How many people can you hire with that? Even though these oil companies not only know that they're causing climate damage, they know that oil is a limited resource and will run out. And they're going to extract every penny as people starve if they can. I've said this before, I will say this again. It is up to us to force the change that is necessary. People get upset with people like Elon Musk. I admit I wish he paid taxes. I wish he wasn't anti-union. But I do believe that he loves humanity and I've seen him speak. He wants to see it survive. And he is following the only path he is fairly sure, and it's not a path I object to, where humanity will survive. Get us off the planet, get us onto many planets, and let us grow there. Because all the eggs in one basket, the right meteorite, the right asteroid, the right guy with a nuclear trigger, which we may nearly have had, will end human life as it stands now. If we were on 1,000 worlds in 1,000 solar systems, the race would continue. That matters. But right now, he's also trying to save us from AI. He's trying to save us from burning fossil fuels until the middle part of the world becomes uninhabitable. We're headed there. We all know that these storms, well, we can deny, it's a once in a 100-year event. Well, I have news, and our governor said this, idiot though he was about some things. He said, when you have a once in a lifetime or once in a 100-year event every 2 or 3 years, there's a problem. And we're there. A Cat 5 super typhoon in December, a tornado touching down in the middle of the United States for over 200 miles minimally, and apparently at the upper end of the tornado scale. Straight line 100-mile-an-hour winds that started and ended over land and had nothing to do with pressure systems over water. Come on, people. It's beginning to get worse. For all the people spewing out lies. Oh, well, the ice in the Antarctic increased. No, it didn't. It spread. The actual amount of ice decreased as it has been for decades. Now, mind you, there's some interesting findings. A skeleton that I can't identify is now visible on Google Earth, an entire skeleton which apparently melted out of the ice near the Antarctic shore, about 50 miles away from it. Fascinating stuff. But the part that can harm us, the part that can harm humanity, needs to stop. Otherwise, I don't want, and none of you should want, to see someone you love or care about or cherish die or be deprived of health or anything else because we cannot break the addiction to a product we are perfectly capable of replacing in 2 years. Please fight. I know I say that a lot, but I'm serious. We need to fight. Otherwise, I don't know what happens.